Why do many deals fall apart when on paper everything looks fine? Today's guest is Zeilengold, manager and VP at FM Home Loans LLC. Ann specializes in deals that don't just fit the box, but scenarios that most lenders really shy away from. She's licensed in over 20 states and is known for getting all the deals done when everyone else says no. This conversation is about trust, problem solving, and what grit looks like when people's home and futures are on the line. Listen this week on Jewish Grit. And thank you so much for coming and sitting with us today.
You're so welcome. It's so experiencing to come to Manhattan.
Well, I would love to know a little bit more about you. Can you tell us, what you do and a little bit about the field?
So I'm a mortgage loan originator. I run a branch of FM Home Loans in New City, New York. What I do is I help people get into homes, whether buying a house or even help them refinance if they have, for whatever reason, they want to take cash out of their home, they want to reduce the monthly payments by reducing their rates, all different kind of purposes. I help people with mortgage loans. I've been doing this now about 38 years at this point.
Wow.
I started when I was 18 years old. It was almost my first field. I say almost is because I tell most people it's my first field, but it really wasn't. I was in real estate for a few months before, and I was 18 at the time. And this was my ticket out of the real estate office because I was uncomfortable in the dynamics in the office and I was too young to just leave. I got this excuse to go into another business. So I went to the mortgage business at that point. And that's what I do.
So tell me what you've grown today, because it's an incredible operation that you're running.
I started in 1988 in the mortgage field. The first 2 years, I really just learned the field. I don't think I made any money. Maybe I did 2 loans, seriously, and they were probably family loans. And then I had my first daughter, and I said to myself, how am I going to ever go to work with a baby? But I already just bought a house. So I worked actually for my father for a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years, and I helped him with his property management. And then I decided to go into become a real estate investor. I thought it was the best thing to do, and I listened to some podcast or tape at that point which said that you should buy real estate on credit cards. So I bought 3 pieces of real estate using credit cards to fund the purchases. And before I turned around, they were on the wrong side of the tracks. I had drug people weren't paying rent, and I had all this property, and I had crazy credit card bills, and then one of my houses was condemned for eminent domain. And so the rent from that one, the 4-family, just stopped at one point. So I had $90,000 on credit cards. I had 3 little kids, and I really felt it was my fault, my responsibility, because I put our family into this situation. So I decided that I have to, I went back into the mortgage business full time. This was 1993. I made a decision to send my daughter to a babysitter for 9 hours a week. It was really, really hard for me to do that, my 3rd daughter. And I just focused. I made myself a 5-year plan. I was going to pay off all this debt, and I was going to save $50,000 so I can buy another house, because I like my house, but I wanted something. I wanted a colonial, not the bi-level, and all that. And I just plugged at it. And looking back, I did a lot of things right, but I didn't know I was doing them right. I connected to Amway, believe it or not, because they had a book and tape program, and I wanted to connect the business books, and they gave you one a month. And that's why I did that for that for that portion. And the tapes were very inspirational, so it got me going a little bit. And then I spoke to an insurance agent who told me about her card program, how she kept in touch with past clients. So I adapted it for my business. And since 1995, I've been doing, cards and keeping in touch with past clients. And the business kind of went. And instead of me doing what my goals in 5 years, I finished in 4 years. And by that point, when the business started, it kind of snowballed. It just happened by itself. I was having children. I had 6 kids at this time, and just kind of snowballed and just kept on going. And then it came. Then in 2004, I connected with somebody. We became partners in a brokerage, and we grew that. And we had some loan officers who worked for us. And then the crash hit in 2009. It's 2007. It was 2009 about. And my partner said, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I can't be in the mortgage business anymore. And I just, that's when I connected with FM Home Loans. I became a loan officer, started a branch with them back in 2009. And I met him on, was on Tisha B'Av, was in July of 2009. And I signed up September, and I've been with them ever since. And we just plotted, just go through it day after day after day after day. And
so what does your team look like now?
My team today looks like we have, I divide my process into two parts. I have the part from lead to contract or lead to a refinance appraisal, and then the part from application to closing. So in the lead to contract, I have right now 2 people and myself. And on my contract to closing, I have now 4 people. I have three processors, 2.5 processors, I should say. I have someone who helps with marketing and admin stuff. And I'm looking to grow my team now. I'm looking to hire now. So I'm actively hiring. I have somebody I've chosen, which I'm going to sign up this week, and I'm looking for 3 more because our business is growing and the leads are growing.
And you also have other people under you, right, that have different branches?
Well, what I have is when I came to FM, I had nurtured loan officers before, and I brought them with me. And of the loan officers I have working with me now, 2 of them I had with me prior to FM, this prior to 2009. And I brought 2 or 3 others along the way. I'm very selective. I'm not looking to grow my loan officer team right now. If somebody wants to work with me, I'm open to listening and hearing. But the loan officers that I have are they're good at what they do, they're excellent at their fields, and they kind of have mini offices that grow from my branch. They run their own team just like I do. They have their people who take them from contract to close or whatever, however they want to set up their offices. They work directly with their underwriters directly, not through me, and they're pretty much autonomous, but they're under my umbrella.
Wow. You say that you do creative loans. So when did you learn that your strength wasn't just originating loans, but actually being a creative thinker and helping people problem solve to get into a home?
Well, it's very interesting. I am not, my personality type is not like, rah, rah, rah. I'm not a rah, rah personality.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that I'm going to meet you the first time and you're going to be, oh my gosh, this is the most charismatic person I ever met, and this is the person I want to connect with. I don't have that kind of hurrah personality,
Yeah.
But I'm an educator. I like information. So I'm married to a CPA. So for the last 30 years, I've asked every kind of accounting question that you can imagine, and I became very good at reading tax returns. There's a lot of income I can pull from a tax return. I just learned how to use that. The second thing is that, I don't know if it's because I love the mortgage business so much, I read a guideline, I remember it. I understand guidelines, and as I read the guidelines, I know, everyone in the mortgage industry has the same tools. We all have guidelines, we all have programs, but sometimes you're able to just understand them a little better or know something somebody else doesn't know. So I just have a very good basic knowledge, and I ask a lot of questions. If you ask anyone at FM Home Loans, I think I probably ask the most questions. I'm always calling up the head underwriter. Hi, can I just have a few minutes? I just have a question. I have so many questions. As I learn a lot from those questions, and I apply that to the clients who call me.
Was there ever a high-pressure case that really tested you?
I've dealt with a lot of high pressure. I had something that's happened just this past year. Like, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
And I thrive on it. I like this. It's very
tell me
thrilling
stories.
to me.
I love stories.
So this is a great one. So I had a client that owned a house, and they found another house they wanted to buy. In order for them to buy the new house, so many things had to fall into place, and everything had to fall into place the right way. So the first thing is they had to refinance a commercial property, which they had a lot of money tied up in the commercial property. Then they had to take a home equity line of credit on the home they lived in now to bridge them. Then they needed to be able to qualify for the new house. So everything had to happen, and it couldn't happen simultaneously. So first the commercial part had to go through. Then the home equity had to go through. Then the new purchase had to go through. And everything was going well until suddenly they found out that their seller was in foreclosure. And the timeline had to be moved up by like 3 weeks or so. And we had timed everything. If everything went right, it wouldn't have happened on time. So we had to speed up the time frame. And there's other snags in the middle. There's a credit snag. There was a reporting late on a car payment. Turns out that they had turned in a car, and for some reason, they reported them late, and right then, it showed up as a late payment. And it could have derailed the entire thing because the commercial loan maybe wouldn't have closed, but they decided to close anyway. The home equity line of credit wouldn't have closed, but they also decided to close regardless. And when it came to the next mortgage, with the late payment on the mortgage, the rate would have been really high at that time, about 7.5% with 2 points. And meanwhile, they started to work with the bank because they didn't feel they were late. It was like a $50 fee of some sort. And nothing doing, so they had to close. The house was being foreclosed. They didn't have any time. And as they get ready to close the following week, like literally they get a letter from the bank that they're moving the late payment. They agreed to reverse the late charge. So here's Thursday. They're supposed to close on Tuesday or Wednesday, and we suddenly get the letter from the bank from the car company that they're removing the 30-day late. We sent them to a rapid rescore. Normally it takes 5 days. It happened in 24 hours. We re-underwrote the loan, and we closed on time at a rate of 6 3/8.
Whoa.
And this all happened it's like everything that's supposed to happen, wasn't supposed to happen, happened. Then everything that could have happened just happened. And so I can't say I did anything. Yes, I did direct them to the right parties. I told them what they need to do. But at the same time, everything fell into place. And I feel every day I see Yad Hashem. I see the hand of God like directing everything that I do. It's like sometimes like you can let these like little whispers go right by, but I see it all the time. I see it when I'm dealing with clients. I see it when I'm dealing with everything. I just see that things fall into place that are supposed to happen, that seemingly improbable. I just see God directing every part of my life, whether my business life, my personal life, like every part, He's right there.
Let's talk a little bit about your Jewish journey, because
Sure.
we're touching upon it right now. Talk to me about it. How did you grow up, and where are you today in that journey?
Okay, so I grew up in Muncie, New York. I grew up I come from a large family, one of 13 siblings.
Wow.
Both my parents are Bali Tshuva, and so we grew up. We learned more. We knew more than our parents back then. We'd go to school. We went to Yeshiva Spring Valley. We'd go to school. We'd come home and tell our parents what we learned in school, and we kind of all grew together. And then when I was 14, my mother passed away, and a year and a half later, my father remarried, and she remarried, and then they had subsequently more children. So the family grew, and there's a couple things talking about my growing up. So my father's I'm actually from the West Indies. He's from Jamaica. And
wow.
he gave us certain life lessons, which I think has taken me through. And one of them was that he didn't let us work for anybody. So he felt that we should always be self-employed. We can control our own income. But when it came time, when I graduated high school, and I'd had good grades, I got scholarships, I did well on the SATs, it was like college wasn't going to be an option because that means I'd get a job. And I wasn't supposed to get a job, I have to go into sales. Hence I got into real estate, then mortgages, because I wasn't, we weren't allowed to work for anybody, So we started, so that's kind of what I grew up. I grew up in a little unconventional, but from a religious household in Muncie, New York. We had a lot of friends, and I went through the Beis Yaakov school system.
Right. It sounds like your early years were a lot about resilience and confidence that your father instilled in you just naturally, just by growing up in that world.
I was so scared when I went out the first time. I remember every time I used to walk into a mortgage office, a real estate office, that's what I used to do, my milk route, I'd call him, I'd say, Pop, I'm about to walk in. He'd say, just go in. I was really so scared. I was really a shy person. Like, you never know now how I was such a shy teenager, because I'm no longer shy. I forced myself not to be shy. But I think he instilled, I think a lot of my success and a lot of my family's success is that being instilled in us that we can do it, to see there's no sailing, and that we should self-direct our income and our profession.
So besides for calling your dad and having him help you and give you encouragement, what did you say to yourself to get out of those moments of like fear?
I can't even remember. It was like back then, it was like such a long time ago. It's almost in a blur. But I'll tell you today, I work in a stressful field, and I deal with different people's stress. I'm helping people, like the most important, as I said, the most important purchase of their life. You see people when they deal with their money, they get very scared and they're nervous, and I'm dealing with that. And I always say, like, every given moment I have hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars of people's down payments that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
And I feel that very strongly. So every time something doesn't go well, or something doesn't go right, not even for my clients, let's say for me, let's say I'm trying to get a big account and I don't get that account, or I'm competing to get a loan, I don't get the loan, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't get that one. My first thing is to do is just like pick up the phone, just go back to prospecting, just go down to the basics, pick up the phone, start making more phone calls, just get back into it. What happened, move on. The other thing is that I have a gift, I think it's a gift, that I sleep very well at night, I go to bed, I'm out like a light, and I wake up in the morning, bright and sunny every day. I never wake up depressed. I never wake up upset. I can have had the worst day the day before, but that morning I'm ready to go. I'm going to figure it out. This day is going to be different than the day before, and whatever happened, and what's going to come is going to come, and I just take that like that. The other thing is that I don't worry about things I can't change. It's a blessing and a curse. Good, because you're able to not have a stressful life that way. The problem is I learned I'm so good at that I can turn on and turn off. So I can confuse people sometimes, but if I can't, I'll give you an example of that. I had a situation just this past year, it really stands to mind. I have this thing, I don't like to tell people bad news on Friday. I feel like, especially when dealing with Orthodox Jewish people, sometimes for sure, they're going into Shabbos, why they need to go in hearing a bad news. And even people that aren't Jewish, non-Jewish people, why they should go into the weekend hearing bad news if they can't do anything about it? If they can do something about it, obviously I'll tell them so they don't waste time. But if it's something they can't do anything about it, I'll wait till Sunday or Monday. Usually Sunday. So I had this client that was supposed to close on a Tuesday, and we sent in the file for clear to close. And prior to this, he was a little upset because he wanted to get a little better rate. And I explained to him that his credit score wasn't really good enough for such a good rate. And he said, why didn't you tell me before? And I told him, I was so happy you could get a mortgage. It didn't even occur to me to tell you that if it was a few points higher, that maybe the rate would be a little bit better, because this guy had a credit history, and we got him to the point of getting a mortgage. So he spoke to somebody else, and I told him if he does X, Y, and Z, he'll be able to get his credit score up. And he told me about it, and I said, okay, I don't know anyone can get your credit score up in the next week, the way they're telling you, but if it happens, great. Comes to me a few days later, you can rerun my credit score is higher. What happened was he added his name to somebody as an authorized user, and his score shot up. It's really what happened. And so it was great. We got him approved. We sent him in with a better credit score. I lowered his interest rate. He was happy. I'm happy. I got a call on Friday last year. It was Friday, March 14th. How do we know the date? My son got married March 16th. Whoa. It was 2 days before the wedding. And I got a phone call from the underwriter that she's looking through the file, and unfortunately there's an authorized user that wasn't there before, and we have to remove it. Now, to remove it from bureau level takes about 10 days. So here I have to call this guy and tell him he's not closing on Tuesday, he's closing in 10 days, and not only that, he's going to get the higher rate at the end. It's like, how do you tell him that on Purim instead of Friday, and there's nothing he can do about it? And then she said, the underwriter said there's another way we can do the loan, but that way wouldn't have worked because of some other things in the file. So, okay, so this is what it was. I decided I'm not going to tell him on Friday. So then I put it away. So then Sunday, I'm getting ready for the wedding at 12 o'clock. I stepped out from wherever I was. I remember I was getting my makeup done or something, and I said, I just have to make a phone call. And I go into the hallway, and I call the client, and I said, listen, my son's getting married tonight. I didn't want to call you on Friday when it was Purim, but we have a situation with the mortgage. And as I'm talking to him, it hit me a solution in my head. And I said, this is what happened. This is what I think the solution could be. So he says, okay, I'll let you know if I can do that. And he calls me up 15 minutes later. It's good. And we were able to close. But sometimes when you sleep on something, or you give it a few minutes to take a step back, and you go back into it, you can figure something out. So,
what would you say to a young professional that's looking to go into a career that's commission-based or high stakes?
I think that commission-based income is great. As I said, there's no ceiling. It gives you a lot of freedom and flexibility, but at the same time, that freedom and flexibility could be, if you don't know how to work that, could be pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I think anyone going to such a kind of field, number one, find a mentor. Look for mentors, look for people that you can look up to. You can have multiple mentors for different things, but look for a mentor, look for somebody to speak to or that you can connect with. That's one. Number two, make sure they talk about work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you have me time. Like time just for yourself, because you can get caught up when you're self-employed, on a commission, every dollar and every client and every phone call. You can get caught up working, never unplugging. Right. And you have to unplug at some point. And so and I'm not saying, I hear young people saying, oh, this is my time, I'm not going to work between 3 and 7. I'm not saying that, but find within your schedule, within your day, time is just for you. For me, I do that. My time is early in the morning. I get up early every morning, and that started 30 years ago, getting
right.
up. I had to be home before my husband left the house in the morning, so I got up earlier. So just find me time, which is important so you can disconnect. And the other thing, always be constantly learning. Don't think your education ends when you leave school. Constantly learn. I read a book a month, at least one kind of business book, leadership book, sales book, strategy book, negotiation book, something book every month, constantly learn. Find people that you can learn from them and emulate them. I think that's important to constantly learn. Don't think of being a student your whole entire life. And the last thing is that make sure you like what you're doing. I find that a lot of people do things, they get stuck in things, they don't really like it, and find something that you can really love and apply whatever you love to do, whatever is important to you, whatever you have a passion for, they can channel into what you're doing, because you can spend so many hours of your life working. You may as well have fun. You may as well enjoy it.
Yep.
So love what you do. And the last thing is, don't jump from thing to thing. I see a lot of people, they give something a shot, like 3, 4, 5 months. Not for me, I don't find success. They go to the next thing. And just if you feel you can plug in, you see the potential, stick with it, because these things take time. You don't make the big bucks right away. You got to do the hard work. You got to do the deep digging. So that would be the advice I give to somebody young.
And this has been the most impactful interview. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And I can't wait to continue this conversation.
Thank you for listening to Jewish Grit, an Olami Mentorship podcast. At Olami Mentorship, we believe that everyone needs a mentor. What better way is there to tap into your personal and professional potential than with a Jewish mentor at your side? Learn more at olami.org/mentorship. Don't forget to keep listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.